So Guido, I'm here with my friend Guido, who is the managing director of Bulgari Watches and also a great friend of mine and a collaborator in a new watch project. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to Singapore and welcome to my favorite cigar bar in probably the world, which is Jimmy's, which is a hidden place in Singapore, which is in a private members club. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for letting me know this beautiful spot of the world. That is amazing, and for sharing a cigar with you. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Okay, so we're going to smoke cigars today. We're going to have our drinks, and we're going to talk a little bit about watches. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is how I feel there's almost a fear in the watch industry today to do anything new. You know, if you look at it today, all the brands are relaunching their old icons from the past. You know, or a lot of brands are afraid to move away from the icons that they created half a century ago. And while I have tremendous respect, for example, for AP and for Patek, if you look at the Royal Oak and you look at the Nautilus, those are watches that were created almost half a century ago. You know, and I think it's great that they're perennial, but where is the creativity of today? And I was asking myself this question, and then I saw the Octo Finissimo, and I was like, this is where it is. This is the watch that is a definition of what luxury watchmaking is today, and design creativity and brilliance. So talk to me a little about this, because I think people get it wrong sometimes. They always think the Octo was designed by Genta, and he gave the sort of maybe conceptual underpinnings of it many years ago. But this is really a contemporary watch born of our era and born from you and Fabrizio, the design director, correct?
Well, of course, Octo is born in the Genta brand as a collection, because the octagon opening, the face of the watch was already present there. But the case that you see nowadays is much more recent, and it's really done inspired by the contemporary taste that we have nowadays. You know, because we wanted really to give to male customer an expression of nowadays, but not as a fashion object, because luxury is not about a season or two. It's really about winning time, and to be able to create from an aesthetic point of view something that is winning time but is very contemporary. It's something very difficult to do, because you're going outside of your traditional codes that are aesthetics, that it is a way to express the creativity of nowadays. So it's not built into the tradition of an aesthetic code, but it's something that has to win time and to be present. And it cannot be done without technique,
of course,
because otherwise it's not a luxury item. So the craftsmanship that is behind has to be there. I have tremendous respect for horological tradition. But with sympathy, I call those watches my grandfather's watches, because they were my grandfather's watches, and I don't believe that I don't drive my grandfather's car. I don't wear his clothes. Why should I wear his watch?
Precisely.
So that's what we're trying to give. And when you turn the watch on the back case, you see that the movement is contemporary, because when you develop the movements that are in the industry mainly are developed decades ago, when the size of the watches were 35 millimeters. So the opening of the back case usually is quite small compared to a 40 millimeter case.
That's right.
And we wanted really to give a total experience of freshness and modernity, showcasing the savoir-faire that we have through 15 lines ultra thin movement. That is just stunning to see from the back too.
See, I love this, and I love the fact that in order to create the Bulgari Octo Finissimo across all of the ranges, across the tourbillon, and I love the fact that your tourbillon is the thinnest of all of your watches, across the petit second and across the minute repeater, you needed to have a unique combination of watchmaking ability. You had to have your own case manufacturer, which you do. You have to have your own movement maker, which you do. And you need to be able to make your own dials as well, right? Because, for example, this watch, the Petit Second, is put together in a way that is not the same as for other watches. For example, the back case is integrated into the case. It's essentially a monoblock case with a bezel. And then you put the movement in, and then the bezel has feet that are screwed through the back, and that creates the structural integrity of the watch. So I think this watch is also, in addition to being sexy and being contemporary and fresh and relevant, also a wonderful statement of Bulgari's watchmaking ability and mastery over many disciplines. Would you agree?
I totally agree, and I think the beauty of having an integrated manufacturer is that you develop everything holistically, no?
Right.
Everything together. And this gives you a full experience as a whole, as a component, because while you're developing, you understand which are the limits. For instance, when you have a case that is only 5 millimeters thick, and you don't have a back case because that would have added another millimeter and a half.
Of course.
Would have changed the allure of the
watch.
Agreed. You have also some technical aspects that are linked to the usage of the customer.
Yes.
I mean, when you pull a strap and you put your Odeon buckle, you're putting a tension on the watch.
Yes.
So that tension, especially with gold, which is not a robust material as titanium, it can be sufficient to impact on the functioning of a tourbillon.
Fantastic. So I was enchanted with the design of the Octo Finissimo. I thought this was just a brilliant watch. And then I became fascinated with this idea, because I like the subversion of luxury symbolism, you know, the idea of the ultimate stealth version. But in fact, you had already created one for the beginning of this year, your minute repeater. Why did you do an Octo Finissimo minute repeater in titanium?
Well, it's again something quite crazy to come up with an idea, because it's a contradiction in terms to have a minute repeater that is thin, because you need volume to chime.
Yes.
You know? But it's part of the provocation, because minute repeaters in the industry are usually, again, as the ultra thin watches, an expression of tradition.
Yes.
And
they're old-fashioned.
They're old-fashioned, and they're also rarely used. It's more on the safe. They're kept in the safe.
90% of them sit in the safe.
Exactly. So the idea was to provide a man that has the means of course, to have a statement of masculine formality, and to wear it, and to have an experience by the wearing.
So then when I saw this watch, I thought this was amazing. It's my dream watch. And so I was thinking, well, I would love to have this sort of similar watch, but in a simple petit second model. And you were very, very kind to agree for this project. So I love the fact that we agreed, okay, let's make the ultimate stealth petit second Bulgari Octo Finissimo. But how are we going to make it a little bit more distinct? So I remember we had this conversation about the skeletonized numerals, which I love, because you see the beautiful perlage of the base plate underneath it. And we were deciding, well, why don't we make them Roman numerals, because Bulgari ultimately is a Roman brand.
I dived into the idea of partnering together with you because I believe we have the same approach to watchmaking.
Yes.
You are the guy who brought the magazines and with the cool guys, no? And that's what we want to do also on the watch side. We want to play it our way, as you did. So there's really a symbiosis in terms of intention.
Yes.
And I believe that having the Roman numerals is a very nice device to link it even further to our Roman origin.
Precisely.
And to have a nice detail that makes it different in aesthetics, and using obviously not the mini repeater but the petit second, where we have on the power serve very discreetly put the signature of the Revolution.
So I love this. So we had a discussion also about should we use the Revolution branding. And your idea was to integrate it into the power reserve indicator very subtly. So actually, if you're not even looking, you won't recognize that there's any sort of overt branding. And I think that works perfectly with the whole stealth identity of the watch and the stealth identity of this whole titanium collection. Would you agree?
I totally agree. My philosophy on co-branding and co-marketing activities, that is an awful a word that I don't like it at all. But I believe that luxury is not about a commercial opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have to have a deep reason. We shared it.
Absolutely.
Nobody has to know.
Yeah.
You know it because you have it.
Yes.
So you have a signature which is not visible.
Yes.
These are details that, in my opinion, are very relevant to the allure of the watch.
Yes.
Because it's not a commercial thing. It's really there is a reason behind, and it's a signature of partnership.
Yes.
And that's, I think, much more valuable to the customer who is into it.
That's very kind of you, and honestly, we feel very honored. And the last thing is that I've been wearing it for the last 2 days. And it's amazing how effortless it is to wear. And people sometimes forget that a watch should be comfortable first and effortless to wear. And the best watches I have are the ones that I put them on, I forget I have them on until I look at them. And the lightness of this watch is amazing. That's what I love about this watch. It's like, first of all, there's only 50 of them made, so it's you're kind of in a club. They all say 1 of 50, which is great. So every member is kind of like very equal. And I love the fact that it's such a discreet watch that unless you kind of would never think of it as being something very flashy or important. Together, we've done precisely what we had intended to do, was to connect watches to the world of today. And so I want to thank you very much for this partnership. So cheers.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor to have done this with you.
Thank you so much.